got so many spoilers. We got so much offensive content.
Well, you are on this, so that's to be expected.
This is episode 115 of Two Fat Guys Talk, the podcast, the legacy, the hype.
Take two.
Take two. Dave, does Sonic have a dick?
Yes.
Because in the Sonic the Hedgehog, the world, not counting the Archie comics or anything in Ken Penders' demented mind.
So
the
you want to get hold on, whoa. So you want to get rid of everything that was good about the character, throw it out the window, and just what? You gonna go with movie Sonic? You want the original movie Sonic?
You know the
fursuit.
You asked me if I had any additional topics to add, and now I do. We'll get to it in a moment. So here's the thing: in Sonic World, the men typically don't wear clothes, and the women usually do. So this begs the question: if Amy didn't have underwear on, would we see her pussy? And does Sonic have a dick? And is it just hidden through some kind of...
It's a pouch.
Flap or pouch?
Dude, just run with that, okay? I don't believe I'm having the Sonic dick conversation.
So... But you're saying, here's the thing. Are you upset that it came up at all? Or are you upset that I just don't know that Sonic has a dick?
Yes, no, maybe.
All right, let's talk about the wild claim you just made that Ken Penders was the good part of the Sonic comic.
Well, actually, I've never really paid attention to individual authors within the Sonic writing. It just, most of what came out from the Archie comics, I tend to view as most, not all of it, tends to be where I think Sonic actually got the majority of its storyline and actually a canonical continuing story. It wasn't all great, don't get me wrong, but
no, it wasn't.
But if it wasn't for Archie comics and some of the writers on there, I don't think Sonic would have necessarily had as okay a story in the games as he's got.
Oh, here's the thing. There's a lot of good in the Archie comics. But Ken Penders is insane. Did you not read the big Medium article that I sent you about that?
I thought we were talking with the right person. Yes, he was insane.
He still is insane.
But as insane as he is, he gave me what was the best part of the Archie comics, and that was Knuckles.
The implication that Bunny Rabbit had sex with a Sonic clone.
I'm not surprised.
The wild... What? I've read a bunch of the Knuckles comics. They are not good. They were easily the worst part of that entire continuity.
See, I don't agree with you, but I don't necessarily disagree.
I have no strong feelings one way or the other. We have a beige alert.
It's just, in the Sonic universe, number one, that article was fantastic, by the way. Definitely link it in the description.
Yes, I will. Was it Medium? I don't remember. There will be a link.
Yeah. But I've got to give him credit for, as insane as he was, the Knuckles timeline, legacy, the characters, and everything else. I mean, they were part of every single Sonic character's journey. It was also the most fleshed out. And especially later in the comic, it was also the more interesting of what was going on, because he had basically sidelined Sonic and Tails and all the other characters and was putting all of his focus. Like, I imagine he had two bulletin boards. Two chalkboards. And the Knuckles one was just filled with stuff. Over on Sonic's, it had a Sonic, Tails, Sally, circled, a line going down, and then nothing. That's basically what it became.
It was a Medium article by Bobby Schroeder.
Okay. But I think that's why I look forward to it as a teenager reading those comics, that I was getting more out of Knuckles' story and his family and everything else than I was with Sonic, Tails, and Sally.
You know, this explains a lot about you. Now that I think about it, it explains why you keep this recording studio of yours in a perpetual meat locker temperature. I have a blanket and a coat on, and I'm still cold.
I don't, and I'm not.
I am so cold right now.
It's 18 degrees!
If I had a Sonic dick, it would have shriveled up right in my pouch.
In the first, 50-odd issues of Sonic, before they started to get heavily into the Knuckles stuff. I mean, Knuckles was only supposed to be a... Seriously?
What? Keep talking! It's cold!
What?
Hurry up so I can get out of here into the winter sun.
I mean, Knuckles was only supposed to be a 4-issue miniseries. That was all that was authorized. And then it blew up into being its own thing.
It's kind of like X-Men, who was also supposed to be a 4-issue miniseries. Then he came to the main Marvel universe, became friends with Spider-Man, and became Jesus. And then died. And then came back, and then became another Jesus.
There you go. It's... part of what I loved about the original Sonic run is how Sonic and Sally and Tails and those characters all played off each other. And I will admit, I do let a bit of the Sonic AM cartoon, which was very much like the Sonic Archie comics.
One thing I will say about what the comics did, and Ken Penders is probably to thank, is that he made sure Tails was important. Mm-hmm. I am a sucker for Tails being important and not sidelined or Yamcha'd as he's been done. He's been so Yamcha'd lately.
Well, yes, he has. But I mean, you had this romance story going on between Sonic and Sally for the longest time.
One of the few women in Sonic who didn't wear pants. And goddamn, holy damn, Sally, so many tissues.
God. Anyway.
What? What do you mean gross?
Anyway.
Don't judge me. Oh. I'm very cold.
I'm judging. But after a certain point, that whole storyline was just shelved.
I do remember many years later I picked up a comic out of curiosity, and Sonic had just come back from some trip across the universe or something, and he and Sally had an argument that I could only describe as both hilarious and horrifically real, and me and Paul Keeks were like, this is actually really good, but I'm so uncomfortable.
and that's fair enough, but unfortunately... on the Sonic side, they started to have and actually, even on the Knuckles side, they had a bleach problem going on. In that, the problem with bleach, the anime, not the detergent.
the manga and anime, not the product that gets stains out of your whites.
Too many new character syndrome.
Yeah.
I mean... you want to make fun of everybody having their own OC of Sonic? Oh my god. Honestly, I think the Sonic side really started to suffer once they rescued Sally's dad. And her brother.
And that guy who was implied to have taken Sally's virginity, even though he was 30 and Sally's like a teenager. And how many fathers does Knuckles have now? He has so many dads.
He only has one, but the Guardians age at such a slow rate that there's his whole clan is behind the firewall that he couldn't go beyond.
It's like that book, The House of 60 Fathers, except literal.
Never read it, but I can get just by how we're talking.
I sure hope I got that title right, because there's some literary nerd who's going to be like... by Jove, he got the title of that book wrong. What a fucking dweebus.
But it's just so much effort after Knuckles was given his own comic went into the Guardians, their dark past.
The ants.
And the symbiosis between the echidnas and the ants.
The oppressed dingoes, who were also Nazis.
Yes. Like, all the effort went that direction. And it was like, okay, well, we'll throw a couple tidbits towards the Sonic stuff to keep it going. But then I stopped. Like, finally, I'm like, okay, I'm stopping. I stopped reading comics for a while. I couldn't afford to be spending so much money on that and all the other stuff I was reading. And then I came back years later, and all of a sudden, you know, we've got Ivo Robotnik is around. Or was it? No, it was Metal Robotnik.
I think it's important to okay, yeah, go to the link that I put by Bobby Schroeder, the Medium article, that we're talking about multiple Robotniks.
Like, Robotnik was actually Dr. Ivo Robotnik, the one that betrayed their kingdom and everything else, was actually killed around episode 50.
And then the Metal Robotnik from another universe came to the main universe and put himself in the Eggman body from Sonic Adventure. And then that's when he started calling himself the Eggman.
Yes.
And even though he was a much more evil Robotnik, he started having some of the weird sympathetic traits that Eggman in the game started having.
And of course...
Excuse me?
And Snively was there.
And Snively was... Fuck Snively. Of all the fucking original characters, what a fucking little worm. What a little weasel.
But, I mean...
What a piece of shit. I would like to football punt that fucking cock.
I came back, and all of a sudden I'm reading a comic where actual humans are around in what used to be Mobotropolis.
And Shadow works for them.
And I'm like, okay, I've been gone for way too long. I'm out. I'm done. I'll just read about this online, maybe. I think the games actually would have been better after, Adventure 2 if they had leaked more of what was happening at Archie into it than vice versa.
I definitely think... Here's the thing, honestly... There's some shit that the Archie comics and even Ken Penders have done really well. And it's too bad that whole lawsuit happened and all the disagreements and they'll never work together again. Because Ken Penders is exactly the kind of creative mind that you need to bring aboard with a carefully worded legal agreement that gives him no rights and let him go to work.
He's very much an idea person. Yes.
He's got ideas. He's got great ideas and bad ideas.
Yes.
And really bad ideas. Let's distill.
But that's been the Sonic universe for me. I would much rather fondly remember Sonic back in the Sonic AM cartoon or in the Sonic Archie series than what Sonic has become.
My only big issue with the Saturday morning one is that Tails was just fucking a jobber. I think that show would have been better if it was Sonic, Tails, Sally, and maybe they just killed Rotor.
Nobody
likes Rotor.
But, here's the thing.
Or Boomer, as the comic called him originally.
Yeah. There were plans for 4 seasons of Sonic, including a time jump after Season 2.
Sure.
Where things do happen, the whole group of them get broken up. And Tails does go off on his own and come back his own, now grown-up, character along with Sonic and Sally.
Not good enough. Has to happen from the beginning.
No. It made sense where Tails was there. I get you want Tails more important and not being the quirky kid sidekick sort of thing.
But I don't want him to be the Ken Penders Messiah either.
That was a problem with Tails eventually, yes. We can find a happy medium, but that's kind of where I saw the cartoon going if they had been greenlit for its entire run. Because Tails was supposed to become much more important after they all went through their own kind of 5 or 10 year time jump kind of thing into, adults.
Oh, how wild would that 3rd season have been? Yeah. I don't know if I would have wanted to see what happened there. The first episode of that show involved an ancient wizard and his computer.
So?
That show was fucked. The first episode of that show, Sonic loses his speed. The first episode!
And gets it right back.
That's a mid-season thing to happen to Sonic, not for him to immediately lose the thing that makes him Sonic.
Yeah, but what was important there? His speed wasn't all he was.
Thanks. Thanks for the lesson.
You're welcome. Sonic has been through, I would say, multiple rounds of being boxed around over the past number of years. I mean, he's had the shit kicked out of him, everything from the horrible games that they've made of the Sonic universe over the past number of years.
There's some good ones.
That Sonic Mania, I'm done.
Sonic Generations is pretty good.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan. The old side-scrolling levels were just fine. I found the 3D levels to be the worst of what Sonic is now. It just wasn't a fan. Sonic Mania did way more for bringing me back to Sonic than anything else. Just because it was well put together levels for a Sonic game. I'm not used to that anymore. How sad is that? But I mean, even the first set of trailers we got for the Sonic movie. I mean, that's basically the epitome of where Sonic sat.
They did eventually fix that, bringing in Tyson Hess.
They have
animators, no doubt crunching for that. The redesign is fantastic. We didn't get to talk about that last podcast. And
this is where I'm kind of leading into is, it's funny how the original trailer Sonic kind of was the cherry on the top of the Sonic destruction that has happened for the most part over the past decade when it comes to games. I mean, he's been a fucking werehog. We've had motion control games that didn't work.
He's been a knight. He's been a knight. A genie?
Ish.
Sort of.
We had Sonic 06, which shall forever cement just how bad a Sonic game can get.
Yeah, he nearly hooked up with a little pasty white princess.
Oh, yes, he did.
Honestly, in retrospect, I would have been okay with that romance. As long as we don't need to see him pop that dick out of that flap.
Oh my God.
So you had a whole topic list that I just derailed here.
No, you just started us off with something different.
Yeah, that's something different. Something new.
I will say, I do want to see the new Sonic movie, especially now that he's been redone and doesn't look like a creepy dude in a fursuit.
I wanted to see it anyway. To be honest, I knew that trailer wasn't going to be indicative of the final product. I'm glad that they redesigned them. And I'm glad that the new trailer used elements from the games instead of bad modern music.
Oh my God. What were they thinking with that music?
They used actual video game inspired music and not Gangster's Paradise. The scenes seemed a lot better. And here's the thing, all those scenes were in the movie. The movie is good. The quality of it is not going to change because of the Sonic redesign. It's just that it seems like it's now better representing things about the movie that are going to be fun. I knew it was going to be a fun movie from the beginning. I think I talked about that. It's got Ben Schwartz playing Sonic and freaking Jim Carrey playing Robotnik. It's gonna be fine.
Well, you see, I've kind of gone back and forth on it because I honestly thought that the best part of that movie was going to be Jim Carrey as Eggman, because just from the scenes that they were showing off from the original trailer, that looked like where I was going to get the most fun from. Now that Sonic doesn't look like something from a horrible taxidermy studio, now I might be able to enjoy the Sonic stuff as well.
A horrible taxidermy studio. Do taxidermists call their places of business studios?
Does it matter?
I'm just kind of curious if this is actually true, because you might be right, but a part of me is saying this is another Daveism.
A lot of taxidermist offices have a studio area that they show off their various works.
I guess it could
almost like their front room is sometimes kind of like a... Well, I call it a studio, but it's like a showroom.
You know, if we continue discussing taxidermy on this podcast, I think it'll be time well spent.
Let's not, because I find taxidermy completely creepy.
Oh, so my plan... I have it in my will that if I die, I want to be stuffed and sent to you. You don't want that.
You can do that, but I will be putting you inside a car, which I will be attaching rocket boosters to, and launching you into space.
I was going to make this face.
Oh, God.
You're saying you don't want that.
Yeah, I'm putting a kibosh on that.
Speaking of whatever it is that's on the list.
You can't even see the list. You can't say. Well, something both horrifying, like Sonic, and amazing, also, sometimes like Sonic, has popped up from Valve here recently. Something that, frankly, we'd all given fucking up on.
A new Half-Life game.
Not Half-Life 3. No.
It kind of is if you consider that Resident Evil 3 was also a side story.
Fuck you! But this doesn't get a number or anything else. This is just simply Half-Life Alyx. It is a VR game only. There will be no keyboard and mouse version of the game. They have made this completely in VR to go along with Valve's new VR stuff. However, when I heard that, my eyes started to tick a little bit. Number one, because it's not Half-Life 3. Number two, that it's only a VR title. I happen to have a VR system, and
you do, and you have the setup for it.
I was pissed off, and I still kind of am, even though it will work with every VR system that hooks up to a PC.
I will admit, I gleaned some very small measure of enjoyment when you let me try your VR stuff. I think Poe and Keeks enjoyed it a lot more than I did.
Definitely. But here's the amazing thing about Half-Life Alyx. It looks fucking amazing. You compare, and I think Angry Joe did a whole thing on this. I think Jim Sterling has done his own as well.
Did I talk about how I want other Joe to fuck my mouth yet?
Yes.
I think I did. Okay.
Yes, yeah. When you compare the graphics from the original Half-Life 2, and I mean, it's been 15 years since Half-Life 2 Episode 2.
It's been as many years as WoW came out.
Yes. Yes, it has. Keep that in mind. The graphics look phenomenal. And, frankly, if they didn't, I'd be wondering what the fuck's going on here.
Dealing with head crabs and with and especially with barnacles, which I have nightmares about sometimes, is going to be pretty amazing. I have nightmares about those fucking things. I'm not even a big Half-Life guy, and I fucking hate the barnacles.
You know which enemy I actually dislike the most from Half-Life 1?
Nah.
The fucking underwater shark fuckers. And it's not even because of the shark itself. It's because of the sound it makes. Because the moment you end up in the water, because you could, unless you manage to have the ammo for the bow and arrow weapon, you couldn't really kill them from outside the water. So you have to jump into the water. Or you wouldn't know there's one around. All of a sudden you hit the water. And it wouldn't matter if I was ready for it or not. It would just freak me the fuck out. I'd be running. Even if I was ready to shoot something, I'd be running. Because just the sound was just... And I'm thinking those enemies didn't appear in Half-Life 2. Or Episode 1 and Episode 2. But if they brought that back for VR, I'm going to have problems.
What about the stupid ninja enemies that would always kill you the first time you encountered one? The all-dark commandos, the humans.
Oh.
I always had trouble with them.
Okay. I can understand why. But
Ninja.
Yeah, no, it looks great, it sounds great, and according to Gabe, it's not just a 1 or 2 hour mini game. It's... And I don't put time limits on how great a game is. But according to him, it is a full-length Half-Life game that takes place between Half-Life 1 and Half-Life 2.
Yeah, I read that. It's a prequel.
Now, on one hand, I'm very angry it's not Half-Life 3 because we've been waiting forever. I kind of understand just how scary the idea of doing a Half-Life 3 is at this point, because you don't just have to tie up Half-Life 2 storyline with Gordon and Alyx, but you also need to finish the story for Portal as well.
But Portal ended up in the future.
Did it?
Yeah. Probably. Maybe. They could easily retcon that.
Well...
Or make it so that it was a lie. I mean, it isn't as if fucking GLaDOS wouldn't lie to you.
Well, and the numbers and everything else that we got from it, remember how many years in the future Half-Life 2 was from Half-Life 1.
True.
I mean, there was a time jump there as well that could easily have gone with Portal because... And the reason why I say they have to end the Portal stuff as well is that they made direct reference to the ship that was launched by Aperture Science in both games, leading both protagonists to that ship as the ender. So it would be a great time to do like you play some missions with Gordon, play some with
What's her name, Dave?
Chell?
You
Shell?
got it. You did get it. Okay.
And then have, the ending sequence with both sides finishing things off. That would definitely be the way to pull that off. But I
want Chell to get some kind of GLaDOS mecha. I know that makes no sense in any context, but I want it.
No less insane than the rest of freaking Aperture Science's stuff.
It shoots missiles in the shape of Cave Johnson.
As long as it has him speaking, I'm fine with it. But that's the Half-Life news. I mean, we're getting a new game after 15 years. Not what we wanted, but what it's doing looks amazing. So, and I think the more important part of all this is VR has not had a must-have title ever yet.
Resident Evil 7.
Not everybody's a Resident Evil fan. Okay? And
I'm sorry.
Well, no, it wasn't a system seller for the PC VR marketplace. I'm talking, like, every console kind of has a game that kind of pushed it forward and sold games right off the bat.
Except the Virtual Boy.
Except the Virtual Boy. That's fair enough. That was more of an abortion. But PC VR needs a must-have game to sell the VR PC space, to get more people into it so that developers realize the market is there and there's investment so that they can make full games, not just bits and pieces here and there. That's what I've been looking for the VR space.
They need to make TIE Fighter VR.
Yes. I'd play a TIE Fighter / X-Wing VR system. Abso-freaking-lutely. I mean, the best parts of Battlefront 2, in its storyline and everything else, were in the space combat. It was amazing. But we need that system seller. And Half-Life 1.5 Alyx might just be it.
That is not the full title.
It's actually Half-Life Alyx's VR adventure.
Is it? That's even worse. I'd rather have Half-Life 1.5 Alyx. Like, that's a Kingdom Hearts 2.8 ass title, but still.
That's the title so far. I'm sure they will modify that so it might just be Half-Life VR or something like that. But we'll see what they do. It's only just been announced in the past week.
Half-Life!
Half-Life's back. Oh, this is actually the first game Valve has done in years. I mean, Valve used to be a publisher on its own, and they made all their money from that.
Yeah, they used to be a developer.
And Steam has allowed them to be lazy, bring in all that money. Speaking of bringing in money, Pokemon Sword / Shield.
Yeah, you have this on the list, and I'm not sure why.
I thought we'd talk a little bit about...
I should note that I don't have it yet. I do want to get it, but I don't have it yet.
I'm actually in the same boat.
However, there is a lot of discussion to have about it, given that it's been very well reviewed, and yet there's a very popular opinion about it that is...
Stupid?
Very negative about it.
Just stupid.
And there have been videos discussing the pros and cons of both stances. I've watched one from Jim Sterling and one from Moist Critical, which is someone I watch sparingly, because too much Moist Critical... You've seen him. He has his YouTube channel is called Penguin Zero.
Oh, him!
Yeah.
Yes. You see, everything that Penguin Zero talks about, I take with a giant grain of salt, because some videos he wants to come across as an asshole, and that's kind of his character. And other times you wonder if the opinions he's stating are actually his, or whether he's just trying to piss people off.
See, and here's the thing. That's why I say I like him sparingly. I like him in small doses. But, they both stated things that I think are quite valid, and that's that the reason people get upset that their favorite Pokemon aren't here is because some favorites made it, but not theirs. Like, Charizard sure made it. No other starters did. So that's kind of aggravating if you liked literally any other starter, right?
Now, you say Charizard's in it. Like, do you mean right from his first form or just Charizard?
Any Pokemon in it, their whole evolutionary line's in it.
Okay,
so Eevee's in it, and that means every single evolution is in it.
Okay. So we can start with him at the... what was his first form?
Charmander.
So we can start with Charmander and then go from there. But
yeah.
Literally, that's the only starter from any other games?
Correct.
That's in it?
No other starters.
Wow.
Charmander, Charmeleon, Charizard.
And yet, as Jim Sterling puts forward, I mean, I love him saying the different ones that he loves that aren't in it.
Why does he like Ekans?
Who cares?
Nobody likes Ekans.
Who cares? He likes it. I mean, he likes Chansey as well.
Wrong opinions.
He likes Chansey as well.
Chansey's pretty cool. But I mean, okay, here's the thing.
Every Pokemon cannot be in these games.
Maybe they could, but there'd have to be some compromise. Like, one thing that always disappoints me about each new Pokemon game, not just Sword and Shield, is that they don't fundamentally change the combat system that I think was outdated even on Inception. They don't fundamentally change things like IVs and EVs and other things, although in Sword and Shield, it is easier than ever to get a Pokemon and get it to be as good as you want, even if you didn't put tons of hours breeding one.
And that's about time.
I don't know if there's a way to easily get hidden abilities, or if you have to just get a Pokemon with its hidden ability. I hope there's a mechanic to facilitate that.
I did hear, though, that you can, if you forget an ability, you can get it back.
Oh, you've been able to do that for various games.
Oh, really?
This game lets you actually transfer egg moves to Pokemon that don't normally have them. You still have to breed the Pokemon that has the egg move, but then you can still keep your old buddy and just give him the egg move.
Keep in mind, I haven't played a Pokemon game all the way through since Gen 1. I played various versions, like 25% through kind of thing, but I've always gotten bored.
This game, as well as the last gen, had hyper training. It doesn't change your Pokemon's IVs, their genetics, but it makes their stats reflect as if they were maxed, which is effectively having max IVs.
Yeah.
So that works. They also let you not change your nature, but change the passive and passive bonuses, which is also great. So there are actually a lot of things here that address a lot of complaints I've had. I think the battle system's outdated. I think one-on-one fights is outdated. I think they should have moved to 2-on-2 or 3-on-3 a long time ago, because that somewhat solves the issue of speed being the dominant stat and whatnot. And I mean, the formula of the games, people complain about this one being too easy, but there has never been a Pokemon game with a difficult campaign ever. Ever. Of course you're going to overlevel and destroy every gym leader not named Whitney. Of course you are, because that's how Pokemon works. And even Whitney maybe needs you to go grab one counter for her stupid Miltank, and you're fine. So, I mean, there's a lot of complaints about this game. We don't need to repeat them, but a lot of them that are just invalid, like the campaign being too easy. Who cares? It's the campaign in Pokemon is literally just there for you to suffer through to get to the end game. I do get the Pokemon Pokedex issues because, again, people's favorites, and I really don't like that Mega Evolutions and Z moves didn't come back, because I love Mega Evolutions and Z moves. But I mean, it's another Pokemon game, and that's exactly what I look at it as. Do I think it's worth $80? No. Am I still going to plop the $80 down when I can feasibly financially afford to? Probably.
Same here. I do understand the my favorite Pokemon not being in it kind of complaint.
Yeah.
However, how many are there now? 800
890 total.
I understand them not wanting to have a full game that has 890 Pokemon. Balancing and
they never balanced them anyway, but okay.
It's too many to put into one game, I think.
They could do the WoW thing where some families of pets are just exactly the same.
They could.
Like maybe there's some electric Pokemon that are just statistically the same as others. And there's really only 10 electric Pokemon, but you have a lot of variety in terms of appearance.
But for that, they'd actually have to do some major changes to the game, which you and I both agree. It's time to change up the formula. I don't want it to become an MMO type combat system like Pokemon Go, where you have to worry about DPS. Ugh. I think that works just fine for Pokemon Go. That's not what I want the main games to become, though. The Pokemon Go isms in Pokemon Go are what makes me avoid it. If I could turn that crap off in the Switch game, I would have been very happy.
Well, Sword and Shield doesn't have that part of it, where you throw Pokeballs without battling.
Which is why I want to play that version, because having to throw frickin' Pokeballs and everything else in Pokemon Go were so fucking annoying.
I do see some complaints that are rather valid, though, because I've had these complaints too. Like, Pokemon's very text-heavy. They want to give you a paragraph for every action. It's kind of like Dragon Quest in this regard, but slower. You know, like, Dragon Quest is like, it doesn't just show you a number and show the enemy dying. It'll be like, your character did this much damage to that enemy. That enemy has been defeated. Zounds, you won. You got this much experience. And that's part of the charm. But it's still much faster for me to scroll by than anything in Pokemon. Pokemon really needs some, like, the flow of Pokemon has always been
slow.
Very very jittery, very, very jaggedy and janky on top of everything else. And some passes on that would have been nice, but I don't think that'll ever happen because the games just make too much money. They're never going to change, right? So
exactly.
But I mean, I see some of the complaints, but not most. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And the whole boycott that people were trying to put around the game, like most boycotts, didn't work.
Of course it didn't work. Of course it didn't. It's fucking Pokemon.
Yeah.
Some fucking weebuses who wanted to fucking boycott the game are not going to affect the sales, especially since Pokemon's very lovely and alluring female character designs brought them aboard anyway, so some great character designs this gen, I will say.
Yes. You're saying some, speaking of janky.
Yeah, jank. What's next on the topic list I can't see?
The new Marvel's Avengers game continues to look just fucking awful.
I haven't seen anything recent. You told me it still looks the same.
It hasn't improved at all graphically as far as the character models. They keep on pushing, this... No,
I still don't know what kind of game this is. Is it a brawler? Is it character action? Is it an RPG? Is it Marvel Ultimate Alliance but shinier? What is this game?
So, Is
it a text adventure?
It is a action adventure brawler with RPG elements.
I thought it was going to warm up, but it still hasn't. I'm still so cold.
How you're cold at 19 degrees, I don't know. I just don't know.
Ironically, when I took my trip here recently, I had my hotel room at about 19. And I was like just lounging in my underwear. But for some reason, this is why I think your thermometer lies. It feels colder than 19 here.
No.
Well, Dave just left in the middle of the podcast, so I guess I'll continue things. Hi, my name is Dave. I'm a stupid face. I like to be really cold all the time.
The game still looks awful. The voice actors, they didn't bother to bring back any of the voice actors from the actual characters. It just looks... It looks like it's going to launch and be just as bad as actually the not Marvel Ultimate Alliance, that last Capcom fighter with Marvel characters.
Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite.
There we go.
Which looked bad but played great.
Yeah. The look plays great.
It's a shame because I played that again recently.
Mm-hmm.
It really does play very well. The combat system in that game is actually really good. It's just a shame that the marketing and the sleazeball tactics behind it and the fact that it looks like garbage just kind of ruined it, because it's kind of like Capcom Fighting Evolution, because that game looks like a Mugen piece of crap, but actually fairly good combat.
Yeah, and I mean, it really does... We'll just break into that for a moment, kind of a retrospective on it. I mean, ultimately, that game died because of only a couple reasons. You're right. The combat was always... Or the gameplay was fine. But the storyline to go with it was bad. Graphically, you would look from one character to the next and be like, well, why does that guy look awesome?
Mm-hmm.
And Chun-Li looked like, just, what the fuck happened?
Well, they fixed her face, but they didn't fix Dante's. Except for his alternate skins. They gave him a Dante skin, which looks amazing.
But that's just the problem. It was so inconsistent.
Wildly inconsistent. You have a regular Ryu who looks and then his evil Ryu skin, which looks great.
Yeah. It looked amateuristic. It looked Mugen in some ways.
There is some good stuff in those games. Like Winter Soldier and Captain America have a double team super that is one of the coolest supers in a fighting game. Unyielding Justice. It even has a cool name.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck.
They put effort into it, but Capcom took the initial reaction to how it looked ugly and everything else, decided they weren't going to put any more money into it other than some skins that I believe you had to pay for.
Both Capcom and Disney shortchanged that project. They wanted a success like Injustice. They wanted their own Injustice. They were banking on Capcom gameplay to carry it, so they didn't put enough money. Here's what they forget. NetherRealm Studios is backed by Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat and Injustice have so much money in and around them. They make more money, they have more money behind their production, and their tournaments award more money.
Yeah.
And I get it. It's tough to fight that. They were banking on the mechanics being better, which they are. I'd rather play more Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite than any NetherRealm game. Not even joking. When I say play, I mean like in versus. If we're talking story modes, I'd rather do any NetherRealm game than Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. But here's the problem. Both Capcom might have had an excuse to not put all their money forward. Disney sure as hell didn't. They could have salvaged it. I know that there's some ex-Capcom guys who work for Disney now who have been trying to build bridges. I love Marvel vs. Capcom, the idea and the games, and I hope this isn't the end for it.
It would be sad if it was. I mean, I'd still like to see another SNK versus game.
You know why that'll never happen, right?
No.
Capcom fucked SNK hard.
Oh.
The deal involved Capcom being able to make so many games and SNK being able to make so many games. And the deal greatly financially favored Capcom.
Okay.
SNK was nearly bankrupted by this deal. They do not like Capcom. They hate Capcom. SNK and Capcom will not get along. I'm shocked that there are two games on the market right now, Tekken 7 and Smash Ultimate, that have both Street Fighter and King of Fighters characters in them. I'm actually surprised that SNK let that happen. But I guess as long as they don't have to work with Capcom, they're fine with it.
Huh.
So we're probably not going to see Capcom vs. SNK 3. But never say never. CM Punk is back in the WWE. And if that bridge can be fixed, then Capcom and SNK can probably find a deal.
He probably got sick and needed money.
Maybe.
Like all wrestlers who come back after.
I know. I feel bad, though.
Yeah.
Like, CM Punk left for good reason, and anyone who leaves the WWE left for good reason. kind of sucks that if he had to go back for money.
Yeah. Well, it's unfortunate to hear about never getting an SNK.
Here's the thing.
And, never's never a good word. For all we know...
If you ever want to play the more recent King of Fighters games, by the way, they're pretty good. And they'll scratch that itch. Yeah, you're not going to get Capcom characters.
Yeah.
But I don't think you really favored them anyway. As I recall, you liked to play more SNK characters, so...
I did like my,
What were your favorite Capcom versus SNK characters?
Mostly SNK.
No, I mean, who? Give me some names.
Falcon Girl.
Oh, Nakaruru?
Nakaruru.
She's in KOF 14. Her first appearance in a KOF because of time shenanigans. She's part of the story. She's also in Samurai Showdown.
That's where another one of my favorite characters comes from. The sword-wielding Smash guy.
Huomaru is in Samurai Showdown, and he's going to be in Soul Calibur 6 as a guest character.
Obviously, for me, Ken.
Yeah, you'll miss that, but do you want Ken or do you want Terry fucking Bogard?
I was never great with Terry. See, my dream team against you in that game was usually Ken, Nakaruru, maybe the sword guy, or there's a couple other ones I put in to try and break things up, but
sure.
I had my favorites.
Well, you're not going to get Ken in King of Fighters, but there are so many Shotos in King of Fighters.
Exactly.
You have Ryo, you have Robert. Robert is basically the Art of Fighting Ken, and he has a Dragon Punch and a Fireball, and he dresses snappy too.
Yep.
He's also boning Yuri. So you got so many good things with Robert. What were we talking about?
We've been doing great so far. We were talking about Capcom and everything else. No, we're good there. I mean that's a good retrospective. And
does it lead us to our next topic very easily?
Decently. We're gonna talk about nostalgia in current games. But I'm gonna start this one off with Star Wars Fallen Order.
Yes, you've played this. I have not.
Now I've only played a single level in this.
Cool.
Mainly because I haven't resubscribed to EA's Origin for a month to play and finish it.
Aren't they moving all their stuff to Steam anyway?
Eventually, yes.
Does this make you happy?
Well, keep in mind, I didn't care about having to have another launcher for my computer to go into. And even if they're moving all their games onto Steam, why would I buy it from Steam when I can go on Origin, pay like $20, and play all their games all month and just finish them? That's one of the few things I like about what they've done. But Fallen Order is the best thing EA has done in years. And I actually add in Mass Effect on this.
What kind of game is Fallen Order?
Fallen Order is a Metroidvania hack and slash with RPG elements.
A 3D Metroidvania,
A 3D Metroidvania, obviously, yes.
So, a big persistent world where you have to get abilities in one area to go open another area and whatnot.
And whatnot, yes.
Okay.
Like, you will go back to other planets in the storyline. By that time, you'll have actually earned those abilities, usually, to then go and do things.
Gotcha.
The storyline makes it feel much more fluid than your usual Metroidvania, where you'll get the double jump, which I don't even know if you get in.
If this game does not have a double jump, what are they even doing?
Well, you wouldn't need really a double jump when you have like force pull kind of thing.
No, yeah, you would, because you want to double jump force pull something.
Look, double jump makes every Metroidvania better automatically.
I think it makes almost everything better. If human beings could double jump, we could fall out of a plane and live.
Not always.
No, you could, because you just double jump. You double jump before you hit the ground.
Not every double jump, every world does that though.
No, but I obviously want the one that arrests your downward momentum with no negative consequences.
Yeah. But this is the best thing that EA has done in years, and they have really shortchanged it in its amount of advertising. Like, let me just say it outright. EA wants this game to fail. EA wants to fail so they can go back to doing Battlefront and everything else and say that this is all that players want.
Who developed this game?
Same guys who did Battlefront. I think this is Relic? No.
Well, point is, you know what? Let's not say it's EA's best game. Let's say it's their best game, because fuck EA. EA has done more to make gaming miserable in their entire existence than just about any other publisher.
Yeah, Respawn Entertainment. Yeah, it shows so much in that the little... Like, when you go off the path and you find different little unlocks and everything else, like alternative outfits for you, there is such a history to the Star Wars games that you could have amazing secondary outfits kind of thing from the lore of Star Wars. No, they're just color changes. It's little things like that that just show that EA was really trying to hold back on stuff. They didn't promote the game really at all. They promoted the hell out of Battlefront 2. But this game? No, because EA really believes that single-player games are dead. Even though we've got all the numbers to show that single-player games like the newest God of War, Spider-Man,
Outer
Worlds sell like hotcakes.
Dave, have I ever told you about the evils of capitalism?
Yes, you have.
Because I feel like it's relevant.
I subscribe to that. But I wanted to bring up that because Fallen Order is a fantastic game. If you're a Star Wars fan, this game is great. The storyline, it is well done. The battle system works. I will admit, it's kind of weird within the Star Wars lore as a Jedi to be earning force powers for killing people, but then again, it's a game, so you kind of have to do that.
The Jedi were hypocrites anyway, so.
So that, and it's fun sometimes. It's to see how when you're sneaking up on a stormtrooper, if you want to maybe pull them into a chasm or launch them out into space, just the different ways you can fight them. I mean, there are some annoying enemies throughout the games and everything else, and you can get ganged up on in certain segments where it feels just unfair. But it's also really fun to go into the mode where you can just bounce a freaking shot back at a stormtrooper and kill him kind of thing. So, and the Inquisitors. Oh my god, those can be some interesting fights.
What are the Inquisitors?
The Inquisitors, think of the Inquisitors as low-level Sith. They're basically the Emperor. The Emperor put them into effect under Darth Vader as his attack dogs.
So do they have force powers?
Oh, yes. They have force powers. They wield unique style lightsabers. In fact, the Inquisitors have been a story idea since the pen and paper RPGs back in the 90s, but only became canon in either Legacy or the new stuff with Star Wars Rebels. In that, they started running into the Inquisitors that were basically, they hunt down Jedi. That's their entire role. And one guy actually had a lightsaber that he would hold the lightsaber in the middle and it basically had a circular crossguard going around it. And it was a double-bladed. And he could simply hold it out and it would spin like a bloody chainsaw blade. He even used that with the Force to hover. It was... Some of the things that these Inquisitors had and some of the ways they fought were actually quite neat. And to have them actually in the game was also kind of creepy because they are your boogeyman. They are hunting you. But yeah, EA sucks. This game's awesome. And hopefully we get more of this rather than their usual shit.
Cool.
No DLC.
Yeah, it's just a single player
storyline or otherwise. No loot boxes. No additional ways to game the system, like buy levels or easier leveling or anything else. Just a straight-on game. Shenmue 3 was kickstarted many, many eons ago. And people really wanted a continuation to the Shenmue series. And for better or for worse, they got one. Unfortunately, asking for a new game in a series, watch what you ask for, ultimately. This kind of goes into my how nostalgia can kill games, because Shenmue 3 is literally like you took a better, graphically impressive Shenmue 2, gave it a new storyline, here you go. I mean, graphically it looks better, but unfortunately the developers didn't do any new quality of life kind of stuff, didn't really change anything up or give it anything new. It's literally just Shenmue 3, the adventure continues. And we kind of have to watch as gamers, when we're kickstarting stuff and everything else, you kind of have to watch whether the people that you're supporting to make these games are ones that actually try and push things forward, or literally just stick to the status quo.
Now, hang on. I never cared for Shenmue at all.
Walking simulator.
I have heard that Shenmue 3 is a lot like the first two games.
Yep.
This isn't what people wanted. Because, keep in mind, the moment Mega Man 12 hits, I'm all for that, even though it's just going to be another Mega Man game.
Yeah.
I don't want anything else, really. So I have no issues here. Look, when there are new mechanics in a Mega Man game, great, fine. When they're not, whatever. I'm looking for solid level design and another iteration of the formula. And what people wanted out of Shenmue 3 was another iteration of the formula, and I don't think that in and of itself is necessarily wrong. I think this idea that every new entry in a series has to innovate is a flawed idea. It can, but I don't think that's necessarily better or worse. So I don't really see the issue with Shenmue 3 being effectively the third part of what was a Dreamcast game.
That's completely valid.
There's definitely some stuff that I will say should be included. Modern quality of life stuff like, say, button configs. Or...
Save anywhere.
No, I don't agree with everything having save anywhere. Quick save, being able to resume, fine.
Yeah.
But not... I don't think every FPS needs to let you save anywhere.
True.
I think that removes a lot of challenge when you can do that, actually. Like the original Dark Forces didn't let you save anywhere. You had a certain amount of lives per mission, and if you failed, you're starting that mission over. Mm-hmm. And I agree with that, actually.
No, and that is fine. That is...
But obviously the ability to resume later is nice, but most modern consoles let you do that on the console level. Even the Switch lets you put it to sleep and just resume later, mm-hmm. unless it's some kind of online game.
No, a lot of the reviews I've seen, and I played a little bit of Shenmue 3 now, a lot of it comes down to, yes, people wanted more Shenmue, obviously. I mean, we wouldn't ask for Shenmue 3 if they didn't. But I guess there is a certain amount of... You don't always expect that whole revamping. You don't expect all of a sudden to go from, Mega Man 5 to Mega Man X mm-hmm. kind of stuff. But you do expect, when gaming has advanced as much as it has in the years since Shenmue 2, you expect a little bit of forward thinking in some of the mechanics to happen. I'm not talking a revamp. I'm talking quality of life stuff. Like, when you go up to an item and you want to pick it up, you shouldn't have to hit a button, choose pick up, and then put it in your inventory.
Geez, not even the Dragon Quest remakes make you do that.
It's stuff like that where the quality of life needed to happen. You shouldn't just brush off your old code, put in some new graphics and story, and say, here you go. You have to you have to respect people's time and effort they're going to put into your game. Man,
you use a lot of body language during these podcasts. It's a shame that none of it actually gets freaking translated over to the audio medium here.
It's unfortunate, and maybe one day we'll go video on these sort of things.
Oh God, I'm gonna have to dress up then.
Why Jim Sterling and the others don't?
No, but I want to look. I don't want to look like me. I want people to think I'm presentable.
Oh, the people who know you expect Hobo Carlos.
That hurts, Dave.
And I think that's the problem with some of the digging up old games and bringing them back for nostalgia is you have to fight the I want to keep it the way that people loved it, but you also need to respect people's time in that you need to upgrade some of the basics so that you're not wasting their time with unnecessary stuff. Nostalgia is not always the best for something.
Sure. And yeah, absolutely. Things can iterate, or they can innovate, or they can retool. And I get that. I don't think any of these approaches is necessarily wrong.
Like, let me give an even better example here. Did you ever play the System Shock games?
I briefly played the first System Shock game.
Okay, that's good enough.
I know that BioShock is something of a spiritual successor to this series.
Yes.
That's why I argue that System Shock isn't so much an FPS; it's more of an adventure game.
Ish. I mean, System Shock was I would say one of the FPSs that actually started the shift more towards that. It still is an FPS in the way that its combat works.
Sure.
But as an actual game, you're right, it's an adventure. But I want to highlight one simple thing. Like, System Shock 1 is being remade.
Yeah.
Now, the first thing anybody today, if you were to tell somebody, oh, well, if you want to play what led to BioShock, play System Shock 1, it still stands up, quote unquote. Now, as a game, it does. I mean, there have been graphic packs to bring up to a certain level and everything else, but where somebody's going to find it jarring is right from the start in its inventory system. In that you need to go up to a body, you need to click on it, you need to actually choose to search it, and then their inventory will come up, and you drag it into your inventory with no inventory management system or anything else. It just drops it in if you have space. Well, no. See, that is the very first place in that game you need to change. It should not be, multiple button presses to loot a person. You should click on them, have their inventory, and then if you just want to grab the entire part of your inventory and put it into yours, it should be one button press.
Sure.
So many games have little things like that. Like that's a quality of life update that it has to have.
I agree for the most part. There are some games that try to create an atmosphere of fear and suspense.
Yes.
Where I could see the inventory being a little more clunky actually being part of the allure.
Yes.
Because you're fiddling with it during a time where you need to run. But I don't think System Shock is that game.
No, it's not.
There's certainly suspenseful things about it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that can be done away with. Sure. Again, even Dragon Quest doesn't make you do that anymore, right?
Exactly. So, and you having played through Dragon Quest 1 all the way up to Dragon Quest, I believe you're on 4?
I am currently going through 4. I just started 4.
Okay. I mean, you've seen how the game has grown as you've gone along, and you're playing the newer versions of it yet again. So
I don't have to open a menu and pick stairs to use stairs, for example.
Exactly. Like,
I just touch the stairs.
You managed to even jump even further into the quality of life updates that were done. I mean, I wish... No. I'm not going to say that. I'm glad I played Dragon Quest 4. Back when it was the way it was. Having played through it again in the whole 3D and being able to turn the screen and see everything as it is now is neat. And seeing all the changes of the combat system, even as basic as it still is, was a treat when I played it. So we'll talk more about that once you finish that. Because I want to talk about how you've liked it going from 1, 2, 3, 4. In the original NES era kind of stuff. Gotta bring up, Outer World.
Again, you gushed about it last time.
I know, and I've got to keep on gushing on this because this game has some problems.
It's too good?
No, actually, now that I've been through most of the game, I haven't managed to finish it yet, more due to time than anything else. Just had to rebuild my entire system to a new one, so I'm a little bit behind on that. But I'm not disappointed by any means, but how do I put this? I'll just come out and say it. They played it too safe. However, I've also done some research on this.
Hang on. What aspect of it do you think played too safe?
Relationships.
Okay.
There are relationships in the game, just not for you.
Okay.
With anybody.
I did hear this, that there's no romantic relationship options for you.
And I've done some research into why Outer Worlds is the way it is. Now, it plays it too safe on everything from the weapons, while are neat, they're very limited in comparison to, say, even what they pulled off with Fallout New Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, I've got to do a lot of comparisons to Fallout New Vegas because that is their last work like this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, with Fallout New Vegas, they were locked into a very bad engine. They were locked into lore, which they had no control over. They were locked into a lot of things. But they were still able to push in, different ammo types, all these different weapons. The stealth system in Outer Worlds, after having more than 30 hours into it, it is a lazy bad stealth system. Like, for example, if I successfully stealth up onto, say, a bad guy right in front of me, I'm behind him, and I go for a melee shot to the back of the guy's head, if I take off 99% of his hit points, not just he is aware of me being around, everybody in the area all of a sudden becomes aware of me. The guy hasn't shouted out or anything else, but it's just the automatic, everybody in the area knows where I am all of a sudden. Mm-hmm. Lazy. Like, I would have no problem if I hit him, he stumbles, and then if he shouts out, he alerts everybody. But all of a sudden, everybody in his unit, programming-wise, knows where I am exactly. And these are kind of things that games like Dishonored worked out how to make it so that, people if they shout out, there's only a certain reach that voice or that sound makes. Things like that. So it's kind of jarring where even Skyrim, for fuck's sakes, if I attack a guy and he shouts out, if a guy's not within hearing range, it doesn't trigger him knowing or going on a higher alert kind of thing. It's too good AI 101 in that sort of thing. Everybody shouldn't know where you are. They should be, maybe a couple guys nearby might all of a sudden be on alert and they're looking around for you, but they shouldn't just automatically laser in on you. I guess the best example I can make there, the game Blood.
Yeah.
There's an enemy in that game, the machine gunners, mm-hmm. who automatically, the moment you come into a room, automatically know where you are and shoot at you.
Yeah.
That's the sort of thing I'm talking about. That this is what happens here. And for a game made in 2019, that doesn't cut it. I'm sorry. I expect a little bit more from Obsidian in that regard as far as stealth and combat.
Okay.
The relationships are a little bit of a downer, that you can't, romance your crew or have any sort of relationship other than I'm a good guy to you or I'm a bad guy to you. I'm not gonna complain about some of the storyline because, it can't all be gold. And after a while, some of the combat did feel the same, which is why I accepted almost every negative the game would give me. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, how would you like to have an extra skill point for getting a negative to all your abilities when you fight the raptors? I'm like, sure, let's fucking do this. I'm now afraid of hangnails. Let's go with this.
We noticed that you get a crippling erection whenever you meet robots. Would you like to take the crippling erection through robots perk? Which will make it so that you have a crippling erection while fighting robots, but you're a damn stud everywhere else. Keep in mind, you can't use it. There's no romance in this game.
Exactly. I guess that's my complaint is they went safe on way too many things. They didn't take as many risks. However, there is a reason for said safety. This game was put together, as far as AAA titles go, this was funded at a AA title at best.
And Obsidian made gold with nothing, which is what Obsidian does.
And that's just it, is Obsidian was given the amount of money they were given to put together a new IP as a proof of concept.
And they built a full game
that
completely destroyed Bethesda's works on half the budget.
Not even.
They John Carmacked an engine.
And it also shows what Obsidian can do with enough time to finish a game, because they've had so few bugs pop up. Even to the point that, from what I understand, they were watching Angry Joe's live stream of the game, and Joe at one point, he's like, some of the fogs that clips in, clips out a little bit. He's like, I wonder if that's my video card or whether that's the game. And in chat, Obsidian's like, no, that's us. We're fixing it.
We've been talking a lot about Angry Joe in our podcast lately. I wonder if I should mention about the throat the fucking thing with other Joe again. Do you think I should?
Please don't.
Okay.
You've already said that enough times.
He's very attractive.
Sure. Great. But, again, that shows Obsidian's care about their games. I know I've just said a whole bunch of shit on what they've done, but if my nitpicking here, and let's face it, this is nitpicking now. They've made an amazing game, which I have more than enjoyed. The graphics, the dialogue options. I mean, come on. They actually put in the ability to play as a dumb character and have actual dialogue options that the characters in the game actually acknowledge that you're an idiot. But
okay, can you handle these mutants that are dogging us? The parent company isn't doing it. Me, Grimlock!
You know, it's just that sort of thing. Certain characters will be like, just go and do it, you idiot.
Grimlock!
One lady actually comments, she's like, oh, aren't you sweet? It's just being dumb, but yet turning up, say, your charisma to max. Well, people will still love you, even though you're an idiot.
Me, Grimlock.
Exactly. So, they did an amazing job, and my nitpicks, I will call nitpicks at this stage. This game has succeeded on every freaking level. However, when they make the sequel...
Outer Worlds 2, Electric Boogaloo.
I won't be as nice if this shit stays the same. Because they've now proved to the company that this IP is going places. You can do a lot with this IP. They can't play it as safe a second time. The second game should have a proper AAA budget, and they need to put these mechanics back in and do them fully featured.
Here's what's actually going to happen. Their publisher has seen that they can make gold happen with a AA budget, so that's exactly the kind of budget they're going to get again.
I hope not.
I hope so too. But capitalism...
Guess who their publisher is?
2K Interactive?
No, that's Borderlands.
Bethesda? Wouldn't that be weird?
Oh my god. Weird? No, Obsidian has said they will never work with Bethesda again. It was one of the big announcements during E3 this year.
Microsoft.
Yes.
Okay, Microsoft might give them the money.
And the new face of Microsoft being that we're buying these studios, giving them money, and then backing the fuck off and not being old Microsoft, if they can actually do that, Obsidian's the company for them. Because Obsidian will take that money and they will do everything they can with it. But I hope for a AAA budget and AAA launch of a new Outer Worlds game within 3 years. Speaking of games that took forever and didn't launch to anywhere near the sort of rounding success that they expected. Death Stranding.
Yeah, you said that. Did it not make a lot of money?
It sold.
Well, of course.
But it was nowhere near the numbers they wanted.
Sure. Obviously, as a staunch anti-capitalist, that's not the measure of whether a game is good or not. And I feel like I've said everything I want to say about Death Stranding and my own interest or lack thereof in it. It's a little disappointing to see a game that breaks a lot of molds not sell, but at the same time, it's the risk you take when you try to do something like this, right? It's also entirely possible their fortunes could change in the future. They said they wanted to make movies in the future anyway, so...
Well,
and if there's any industry that's very forgiving of not making their returns back, it's Hollywood.
I actually prefer if he goes full on Hollywood, because as a person that has not enjoyed much of the Metal Gear saga outside of Revengeance.
And 5. Yeah, well, you liked 5 a whole bunch.
I liked the mechanics. I didn't care about the story. The actual mission mechanics and everything else I enjoyed, yes. I would rather see him using his ideas towards impressive movies now than any more games from him. I don't need any more walking simulators in my lives.
Well, again, though, for Death Stranding, that's kind of the point. The point is you have to manage how you walk between locations, right? Look, I don't care for the game, but the whole point of the game is that this walking is a challenge.
Uh-huh.
And so you have to be careful how you carry about it. So, like, I've heard some reviewers say, that this is a game where quality of life, I think they don't give these things to you. Because it's supposed to challenge you. It's supposed to have a message about that, right?
Oh, yeah.
So that, when I hear reviewers and people say negative things about Death Stranding in that retrospect, I think to myself, nah, you didn't get the game at that point, right? But I mean, still, it's disappointing. I didn't want the game to do badly. I like when media, changes the status quo, and it's always sad when it doesn't make enough of an impact.
Nintendo and mobile games.
What did they do now? They have an Animal Crossing subscription or something?
Wow, you got it right.
Oh, wow.
It
only took a year?
Not 1. 2 subscriptions.
2 levels?
Nope. 2 separate subscriptions that give you different things.
Huh.
1, which is basically there to you can choose one of your friends in the game, like one of the characters you've made friends with, to basically play the game for you. Harvest all your stuff on time, build stuff, etc. And the other one gives you loot boxes! So many loot boxes per month, plus in-game currency, and that's it.
Mobile gaming is so evil. And Nintendo has embraced the evil so hard.
It just... God. When I read that, I'm just like, why? Why are you whoring out your game series now? Give a full-fledged Animal Crossing game on mobile. No time mechanics or anything else. Just put Animal Crossing in a mobile game.
There are very few mobile games that are just full-on games.
Yeah.
I think I've talked about this before. I want more. There are so few that aren't remakes.
Yeah. Yeah, original, actual mobile games that aren't microtransaction hell just aren't made.
Yeah, it's...
And the reason for that is everybody wants this consistent monthly income from their game. They don't want to just give you a game.
Fucking Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
It's already hard to justify spending money on a standalone Animal Crossing game.
Yep.
I've done it, so I know it's hard to justify.
Only one I did was GameCube, and didn't quite regret it back then, but I do today.
I don't back then because Meepo and Keeks, there were space in the town for up to 4 players.
Yeah.
So Meepo and Keeks would sabotage each other, dig holes around each other's house, send threatening letters to each other on the bulletin board.
I remember this.
So, I mean, fine. I'm fine with that. But, I mean, of all the things to milk, Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
You know, it's time we made a mobile game, Dave. You program it, and I'll tell you what's in it. It's fair deal, right?
Nah, you can go and pay one of the friends of the show.
I can't believe Sally Slapped. You're gonna be very upset when Sally Slapped hits is just a super hit. Okay, listen, I know that it's just you're literally slapping titties, but there's no microtransactions. It's a full game. It's like Punch-Out.
Oh
titties.
wait, you couldn't go to that friend's company to build games because they only build microtransaction hell games.
I remember when we had said friend over and he talked about, how do you monetize some game, and I literally told him, man, I love you and all, but I want to punch you so hard right now.
Yep.
Cool guy, though.
Oh, absolutely. I just hate the fact that he defends that bullshit.
Well, obviously, if he works in the industry, Dave, I have no shame. If I worked in that industry, I'd defend it too. Obviously I wouldn't defend it in private, but I would in public.
Yeah, I know.
I have no shame. If microtransaction mobile companies want me to write for them, I'll take their money and I'll write for them and I'll be evil. And I will blame capitalism all the way to the bank.
Yep, pretty much.
Speaking of the next topic.
Speaking of capitalism, Black Friday is coming.
Us Edmontonians have a very different Black Friday, we remember. The 1987 Edmonton tornado. But people can look that one up and its horrors on their own. You're talking about the day after American Thanksgiving, where people get so consumer happy, they'll literally trample and kill each other for deals.
And that now happens in Canada as well.
Yes. So what thing about Black Friday do you want to discuss?
Just how stupid it is.
I remember we used to make an annual ritual of going out on Boxing Day for
and
deals.
We were fucking stupid.
I mean, we had some fun, but I remember we'd always be tired after.
Oh, exhausted. Be first in line to some store just to see that they had 7 copies of Game X, and it wasn't even worth the discount to have shown up. Don't get me wrong, Black Friday's in a better place than Boxing Day. The day after Christmas is not a day you want to do anything like that. So at least Boxing Day or Black Friday is in a better time of the year kind of thing. But it's just you're buying at a discount, usually year or 2-year-old technology, thinking you're getting a deal. And that's really all that Boxing Day and Black Friday has become is...
You're buying things you never would have bought because it's cheaper.
Exactly, and usually it is technology that's a few years old when what you want is the new stuff. But because that price tag now shows 75% off, ooh, I'm getting a deal.
Yeah, when that money was not even going to be spent, it's... You know what? I have nothing to say about this. I've complained about capitalism enough, I think.
Oh, my baiting didn't work.
Oh, do you want me to fucking talk about how capitalism is awful? How there can be no ethical consumption? How in order for a company to succeed under capitalism, they have to screw over their workers? Because if they're not generating a profit by underpaying their workers based on their value, they'll never succeed?
You've said enough.
Okay, cool.
Thank you for that.
Make sure to go to our Patreon. Give us fucking money.
And that brings us to the Google Stadia and cloud gaming.
Did you get a Stadia?
No.
Me neither. Well, that's it for that topic.
I do, however, have a friend who did jump in and get the... What was it called?
The Founders
The
something?
Founders Edition? Yes.
I hate 2019.
2019 has sucked.
I cannot believe anybody is paying a subscription fee on top of full game prices for games that they don't even electronically have a copy of on their side, that they literally are playing off of a server online that could be revoked from them at any point without their money being given back. Even my electronic copies of things still reside on my storage, and I could, with the right amount of motivation, rip them.
Yep.
And I could see the allure of Stadia for certain turn-based games if you paid a subscription fee and you got access to these games and didn't have to also pay for the games.
Yeah.
I could see the allure there, even though I wouldn't do it, because come on. Come on.
Well, now that Stadia has actually released and is in the hands of about 10% of the people who actually paid for it, I guess a lot of people who ordered the Founders Edition even in the beginning didn't get their copies on time of their equipment and everything else, or their codes.
Yeah, they got a special Chromecast.
It is exactly what all the detractors basically said is, you're at the mercy of your ISP. And the data that 4K gaming takes is massively higher than they said it was going to be.
And the ISP is so reasonable.
Oh, yes.
So willing to let you have extra bandwidth that costs them nothing, but that they'll make sure costs you your livelihood.
Yeah, it's... A couple people, like, Google seemed to have the idea that because Google was offering a gaming service, that ISPs would realize the benefit that Google was bringing to them, and that the ISPs would just give more for less?
Yeah, they said that. Because according to Google, it's better for business to give people something for free. Have they not? They have benefited from capitalism so hard, and they seem to not understand how it works, clearly.
No, they don't. And yeah, your ISP means everything. So those people who are attached to, AT&T down in the States, good fucking luck.
Oh yeah, this entire continent is built on shitty copper wiring for its internet. It's why it frustrates me whenever a Japanese fighting game developer says, our netcode's good, look at us playing in Japan, no problem. Yeah, okay, if we had magic fiber optics all over our entire fucking world, we could probably do the same too, but we don't. So you need your rollback netcode to make things work, actually.
Yeah.
Guilty Gear, Arxis seems to be actually listening to this point, finally.
Really?
Yeah, it's been on their latest questionnaires, they've been discussing it, so hopefully there'll be GGPO netcode.
Good.
In Guilty Gear Strive.
About time.
But I mean, fucking... Like, ISP's already written... High-speed internet should be a human right. As far as I'm concerned, food, water, shelter, and high-speed internet should be human rights. Everyone should get this, no matter what, I think. So it's absolutely unconscionable, the situation that many people in the United States and Canada are in simply because of where they live, and the various monopolies and oligopolies that they have to deal with.
Yep.
And the chokehold on bandwidth pricing, especially here in Canada with our mobile plans, and in the States in certain areas. And Google thinks that because they offered a shitty, laggy gaming service, ISPs are going to magically become altruistic and and allow people to go way above their cap. Yeah, good fucking luck. I will say this about the Stadia, though. Whatever it is they're using to kind of unify whatever architecture is running the games behind the scenes so that they all work on whatever server Stadia is using, could be a nice technology for future Linux consoles, game consoles, right? That could be nice. That's it. That's the only good thing I'm going to say about this whole debacle.
Well, and you bring up a number of really good points. I mean, the fact that you don't actually own a physical copy of said games, and that Google is well known for shutting down services that aren't making the money over and over and over and over again, does not make me have high hopes for the Stadia lasting long term. I give them 2 years until this project shuts down, if that.
Yeah, especially since you have Microsoft's xCloud, which, even though it's still another shitty cloud gaming thing, at least is being backed by a company that seems to have a slightly better handle on shit. Even that is bullshit, but it's by a company where you have the option to not play something over the cloud.
The fact that Microsoft and Sony are both buying in on these cloud technologies reminds me of the motion control.
Oh yeah, no, it's totally another motion control. Sony especially loves to rip off from Nintendo. Look at their not Nintendo Directs that they do now. I would not be surprised if the PlayStation 5 is able to be played portable or connected to a TV, just like a Switch. I would not even be surprised. I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense.
I would be very surprised, actually. I would be very surprised. Mainly because Sony does a very piss-poor job of working with a mobile system, as they've proven with the Vita.
The Vita still lasted way longer than it had anyway.
But the Vita lasts because of the actual developers, not because of Sony. Sony basically gave up, threw their hands up, a year and a half into the Vita's life cycle. And watching just how many companies were still adding backwards compatibility to the PSP and digital games on the Vita was impressive. But Sony themselves, they said, fuck it, we're out long before that. So, yes, the Vita did last longer than anybody thought, but that's only because of other developers. Sony had no part of that.
Sure. I'm just saying that I won't be surprised. I'm not saying it'll happen. I'm saying if it did happen, I'll nod my head and be like, yeah, makes sense.
I would be very surprised if they did. Just also because of Sony is a hardware spec junkie.
Just like Microsoft.
They're
basically Japanese Microsoft.
I mean, they have to talk about the petaflops, and they have to have the megawatts, and they gotta have the RAM gigabits and everything else.
The token ring networks.
Oh, God.
So I have a question to kind of wrap things up here. That was our last topic, right?
Yeah, cloud gaming and everything else. Yeah.
I have a topic to wrap this up. Have you ever known anyone who used the token ring network?
Yes.
Were they serial killers?
Maybe.
Because I don't know anyone who has A, used the token ring network willingly, and B, not been a serial killer. I've used the token ring network unwillingly in certain classroom environments.
Willingly? Oh, okay.
Sorry, I should have put willingly.
Yeah, okay.
What I mean is, did you know anyone who actually espoused the benefits of token ring and been like, here's my token ring network. It's much better than your much faster regular ass Ethernet because it's got a token, you see.
So, I did have a 10-base-T token network at one point.
So you're a serial killer.
But it was not willingly.
Okay, so you're not a serial killer.
I'm not a serial killer.
Did you not configure your netware correctly, or
actually,
you pick token? Was it like, hey, are you sure? You literally just picked the token ring network option. We're actually patching this out in the next one.
It was by mistake one time.
I just find it funny that token ring was trying to be super elegant in an era where it was already more efficient for every computer to just shout into the cloud until one hit.
Well, I mean, I dated myself by saying it was a 10-base T.
Yeah.
Network.
Still faster than Stadia. Bazing! Boom! Take that, Google!
I mean, a coax-based network system. That totally dates you when you're talking that.
Have you actually accidentally punctured your skin with the tip of the coax cable? Me too. I've given myself... Remember when computers didn't have all these nice thumb screws and easy brackets? And putting your hand into a case meant possibly giving yourself a gash?
Gash? Those things were fucking razor blades in the guise of a computer case. There was none of this rounded edges shit. It was like, okay, putting my hand into glass, basically. Let's do this. Can I get... Slice. Motherfuck. And I mean, I'm gonna put on gloves to protect my hands. Pull your hand out, the gloves are just hanging in ribbons from your hand. Yes, I do remember those times, and I do not miss toolless casing. The fact that they actually do round off 99% of the edges now. You can still cut yourself on a case.
Do you remember the day when a full-size case means still needing to measure if it would fit everything?
Oh my... The fact that full-size casing did not actually mean it could fit an extended ATX motherboard, that you were still, okay, is this gonna... Okay, it fits technically. Now if I put the screws onto the actual case, do those line up with my motherboard? Of course it doesn't. Because Cooler Master at one point only worked with a couple brands of fucking motherboards. Ah! Do you remember back in the day when you would go to put a screw into a motherboard, but you wouldn't just screw the screw in, you'd put these little brown coasters on it so that it wouldn't rub right up against the board?
Yeah, you're not talking about standoffs. You're talking about a thing that went in between the standoff and the screw.
Yes.
Yeah, I hated those things. I remember them.
In fact, I was going through my old PC screws, just putting all the new additions for my latest build into the proper areas. And I came across about 20 of those in one of the little areas. I'm like, I remember when these were a thing. These days, the motherboards just have a little metal area that the screw goes onto, so it doesn't actually press on the board or allow it to cause any sort of connectivity kind of thing. But yeah, back then, we actually had to use those to make sure it didn't damage the board or cause any sort of short circuit with anything. It just...
Man, I grounded that motherboard. I once destroyed a motherboard because I was screwing something in and my screw slipped. So I scraped all across a 3-figure motherboard. And I'm like, man, I don't miss the glory days of PC building. And I am all for easy access tools of today.
Well, I mean, when I just rebuilt my system in the past 2 weeks, I mean, I spent 12 hours taking it apart and putting it back together, but I did that so I could clean the case completely out. Because here's the thing, as a person who is a gamer, who does build his own systems, it takes a lot of work to actually clean one of those out once you want to give it a full clean. So I mean, I pulled out every cable, every board. It was just down to the bare case, and I mean, I wiped everything down, made sure nothing was left behind. But when I put it back together, you know, there's a thing called cable management and doing things in a way that doesn't... You look at old put together systems, and there are rat's nest of cables everywhere. There was no such thing as real cable management in systems.
Routing channels?
Exactly. And these days, there is. So you can have a very clean setup in comparison to the old days. And, I mean, that was a natural progression because, you know, it helps with airflow in your cases now. It doesn't just block off airflow from flowing through. So it's amazing how far we've come in actual PC building as far as ease of doing things and in not ripping your hands apart as an actual builder. It's a natural progression, thankfully.
Man, I remember back in college, I originally was going to go into IT and systems management, which I did with you, and my secondary was going to be journalism. I really wish I had gone into journalism, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, you just... I mean, you did it with me for years in a call center, but that just was not what you wanted to do.
No, it was... Not every day was a waking nightmare, but most days were.
It still is.
Yeah. Don't worry. Soon this podcast will make us all the money we need.
Right.
Folks, make that happen. Play the outro where we can get... oh, God, I'm fading fast.
Yes, you
better play that outro now.
As always, thank you for listening to Two Fat Guys Talk. The Sword vs. Moonrod art is by the talented Red Caliber. Links to her Twitter, her store, and her webpage can be found in the episode description. Music tracks used were Bit Bit Loop and Good Nightmare by Kevin MacLeod, found at freepd.com. Be sure to visit our site at animerave.xyz for more of this podcast, and for Carlos and Dave Animary, the best anime review show on the internet. If you like what you heard and you can afford it, help keep us going by becoming a patron via the Patreon link on our site. If you can't afford it, no worries. Just spread the word.